right now. The moment you click it, tell me that we're live and that works, because that's how this has to work. I know, I can see it, Joe. I didn't even have to, you didn't even have to tell me. That's how good I am at this job. I know before you even click it when we're live, because I'm the best in the industry at what I do. What's going on, everybody? NBA Strategy Show, Thursday, November 2nd, 4-game slate. It honestly feels like we don't have basketball to talk about after a 13-gamer. Mildly refreshing. I'm Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Adam Scherer. We're brought to you by Bet365. We're going to break this one down in depth, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. 4 of these teams are on a back-to-back, so in depth is a little up in the air for some of these guys. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live, and follow us both on Twitter. Adam, what's good?
How's it going, man? Looking forward to a slate where hopefully guys don't start getting ruled out 15 minutes after the game was supposed to start.
I mean, other than the Alec Burks one, I was happy with all of the news breaking the way that it did.
The Alec Burks one hurt. I had like 15% of him. He was 3% owned. And then on the night slate, I had 76% Taurean Prince, who did the same exact thing.
Yeah, that one's not ideal at all. Lucky Luciano says, ship my money. Nice slate last night. I don't know what he means.
I have no idea what he... Oh, I mean, I did profit the main slate, but like...
Yeah. You didn't win.
I made, like 30%. It's not like you saw me at the top of anything.
Yeah. Josh Hagan with a massive super chat said, appreciate you both. Won 100K on the FanDuel Superstar last night with help from the tools. Second 100K winner in a month. I know who we're going to go, Rob.
Yeah, that congrats. That's awesome. And I assume a really good feeling. I don't think I've actually done it.
2-1.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had 2 baseball ones for 50 this year in the same month. But
I mean, I had right before my sabbatical, I had the 100 and then like a 40 in golf, like within a week, basically. Yeah. But I don't think I've done 2 6 figures in a month.
I wish the first 50 that I got in baseball would have been 100. Like, not just because 50,000 is more than 100, but I steamrolled everybody in that contest. So like, I would have happily taken the extra entries in there.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I
think I would have had a real good shot at it.
I really wish my baseball win had been a milli maker, but
Yeah. No, I just like, I won by enough that I would have liked to have more lineups and more prize pool. Sometimes when you win by like a quarter point, it's like, I don't want that contest to be any bigger. I'd probably lose.
Exactly. Yeah, until one of those added lineups is like the 9 one-offs that each hit 2 home
runs. A bunch of random ass home runs and shit. Oh man. Sabbatical, a word that should be used more often. If America was just like every other place and we were working 4 days a week, it'd be so much better. Or taking your vacation like most people do in Europe.
Right.
Josh Hagan, though, for real, that's awesome, man. Buy yourself something nice.
Lose it back before tax season ends, or before the calendar year ends.
Hilarious that TJ McConnell got there in the exact way that we were like, yo, we don't even know if he's going to do this. Right. TJ McConnell. Yep.
The fact that he was like
steamrolled.
The fact that he was like 15% owned and nobody adjusted to Lonnie Walker coming off the bench, and then Mikal Bridges gets hurt was mildly annoying.
Insane, dude. Insane. McConnell getting ownership like that, I didn't see it. I think I had like 1 or 2 lineups, but
I was really surprised. Like I think at first I had 10%, and then I late swapped again and ended up with like 4 or 5%. And when I saw 10%, I was just like, well, I mean, he could get there, but this doesn't seem like particularly good play. I didn't realize the field was going to be coming in even higher than that.
Yeah, it was. I didn't expect it. That was very much an archive of years past for him.
Yeah.
Why does that keep happening like that? Stop, click. I wanted to see how much I actually had. I'm going to click on this and find out I had 10% too, and I'm just going to want to die. Best value play last night. I had 2. Okay, that's fine. I can handle that.
Yeah, responding to chat, I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't realize Lonnie Walker was coming off the bench.
Yeah, even though that information is commonplace.
To be fair, I kind of like, it didn't register to me either. Like I saw the Nets starting lineup and that Royce O'Neal was in it. And I was just like, that's different. And then I was just like, oh, well, Dinwiddie's out. So, I guess that makes sense. And just kind of forgot Lonnie Walker was who we were assuming was going to start.
Yeah. How much did he play? He still went for 32.
Well, he started the second half because Bridges got
it. Right. 25 minutes. Do you know how much he played in the first half? Probably like 12 minutes or something, I'm guessing.
I assume I'm going to look right now, and I assume the answer is going to piss me off. considering I didn't have him. He played, I mean, he closed both quarters. So he played 6:43 in the first quarter. He played 7:07 in the second. So he played like 13 and a half minutes.
Do we want to talk about Jordan Hawkins' shooting day?
That one, I mean, so like I had a ton of him at lock and then late swap to less. And based on like the opportunities, obviously he was a good play just based on his score, but the opportunities he got, he should have been like 100% owned if you knew he was going to get all of the stuff that he got.
I had 58%. And like, I saw him with flames early. And then you said something in chat and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, he can't make anything. How does he have fantasy points? 4 of 19 from the field, 2 of 13 from 3. There's a chance that he puts himself in a category where you absolutely have to have him yesterday with very little change to what he did.
Oh yeah, if you just give me don't tell me how many he made, don't tell me anything, just give me the opportunities he had. He's just the best player on the slate. Like,
he's a no doubt 100% if you know those shot attempts.
Right. Like my 98% Bagley would have been Hawkins if you tell me that's what he's getting.
Yeah. Bagley obviously was fine. Underwhelming, obviously, but like when he gets to that, if you get to 6x with that kind of ownership, it's probably not going to matter too much whether you have him or not. And he was ultimately in the winning lineup, but son of a bee sting on Jordan Hawkins, man. Just all the shot attempts in the world and couldn't buy a damn bucket. Well, I'm going to talk a little basketball.
Yeah, may as well.
Kind of gross. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. That's the starts for tonight. And we got a couple guys that are on back-to-back. So lots of weird stuff that we're going to need to break down. You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Toronto Raptors, 8.5-point dogs in Philadelphia, 216.5 total. We have no idea what the status for Toronto will be, but as of right now, I don't see any reason we're assuming anyone sits. So I have everybody in except for one piece. Precious Achiuwa has missed the previous 2 games. I left him out for today since he's missed the previous 2 and he's Precious Achiuwa. Take that whichever direction you want. Jakob Poeltl, massive opening half last night. What are you looking at here for Toronto? Are you on the same page here? Like, we're just kind of assuming everybody's in.
Yeah, nothing else you can really do right now. So the pricing here looks decent. You know, this is a team that was kind of difficult to get to on these larger slates, but Scotty Barnes at 8,200, no real problem there. Projected to go a little bit under owned. Dennis Schroeder's ownership pretty much correct at 6,200. You know that the playing time should be there for him. Decent price tag. You know, again, if you had a bunch more games, you'd probably not really be paying a ton of attention to Schroeder at 6,200, but on a 4-gamer, he's going to look pretty good. Anunoby at 5,600 looks fine, assuming that, you know, he's playing. Those are the 3 getting the most ownership. I think it makes sense when you have their position, you know, factor in their positions and salaries. Poeltl, again, no problem getting to him, but it's always a little bit more difficult when you're talking about centers, especially a slate where you do have Embiid as well. But Barnes, Schroeder, and Anunoby, I think look like the ones you're most likely to get to.
Yeah, Barnes is the guy that I got the most of. I don't know what this is actually going to look like when I run when we get through these sims, because the chalk play, there's somebody pulling a bunch of ownership that I didn't expect to see. But that's FanDuel. Never mind. Doesn't matter as much. 14% ownership to Barnes, 16 to Anunoby, 10 to Jakob Poeltl, 18 to Schroeder. I think Barnes is the guy you want just because of that positionality. But really, any one of the starters are live. I don't see much from their bench, though. Do you see who got dusted off for Toronto yesterday?
Oh, Otto Porter?
Yeah, former Wizard Otto Porter in the house. Didn't know he was on the roster or healthy. Yeah, I just thought he was at home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Otto Porter played. But, like, I don't really see it for Boucher. Trent's minutes are scaring me. Feels like I'd be more likely to go to Grady Dick before I went to Gary Trent. But, like, this seems like a starters-only opportunity.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I see it. I do think it's worth noting Poeltl played 29 minutes yesterday and lost playing time to garbage time. So we did see that at least the potential for him to get, you know, a bunch of minutes is there. So that's pretty nice to see. But yeah,
nervous about him for those minutes tonight against Embiid.
What'd you say?
Nervous about that against Embiid tonight.
Yeah. It's just nice to see that, like, they will do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, beyond the starters, like 4-game slate, $3,900 Grady Dick, I guess you could make a case for, but there's not really ownership coming into those guys. Nothing looks really good. Grady Dick looks like the guy that, or is the guy from the bench that we have going the most under-owned, but still projected for like 15 points.
I don't think much will change for Toronto unless we get somebody in or out. Toronto is going to be like a relatively underwhelming team to break down today.
Agreed.
Okay. I wish I had more to say. Let's go to Philly. Now, this one's a little bit harder, and there is going to be some ambiguity at the very least. PJ Tucker, no longer a starter for the Philadelphia 76ers. He is being replaced in the starting lineup, at least for today, allegedly, with Kelly Oubre. Nick Batum is out already for personal reasons, but we should have Robert Covington available. We should have Kenyon Martin Jr. available. We have not a ton of ownership coming in here. 14% to Melton, 14% to Embiid, 20 to Kelly Oubre, only 3 to Tyrese Maxey, 2 to Tobias Harris. I'd like to start with Oubre at 20%. Small forward, power forward, 5,800. Is he just kind of like a guy you got to get to because he's starting now?
Yeah, I think it's the minutes that he's likely to get and the position combined with the price tag. Like, he's just one of those guys where, yeah, he's still not going to be the number one option offensively, obviously, when you have Embiid and when you have Maxey, but he's just likely to be out there for enough minutes that at that price tag and at those positions, he ends up being valuable. So you're seeing that reflected with, 19 to 20% chance of being optimal, around 19% ownership.
I like him. I'm 2xing Embiid right now at 11.5, so I think that's pretty interesting to see that I'm not having any problems getting to that salary piece. And I certainly like him in any matchup I can get, so it is Joel Embiid after all. Melton, point guard, shooting guard, 5,500, just like getting some ownership because he's a starter. It seems like this is just like a play of the starters day.
Yeah, that's how it's seemed so far in this game. And in some ways, I feel like Melton is just similar to Oubre, where you're not expecting a ton of production on a per minute basis. He's just cheaper than his playing time suggests. We have him going very under-owned, which we talked about yesterday. That typically is going to even out as you get updated projections. Either the ownership's going to come up or the projection's going to come down. But right now we have him with a 24% chance of being optimal at 14% owned. So if the slate started now, it would look like a really good play. But again, I think it's likely that ownership comes up.
3% owned to Maxey is interesting, but 8,400 is a healthy price tag.
Yeah, the price tag seems like it's pretty much already adjusted. I do sort of like it in tournaments just because it is a 4-gamer, and that the ceiling that Tyrese Maxey has when he's playing without Harden, and that he should play huge minutes. But would have been kind of nice in some ways to get like a $7,200 Maxey for a couple games, but price tag's already moved.
Robert Covington, Kenyon Martin Jr., in theory, Marcus Morris. That wasn't my question, Des. I don't think Marcus Morris is going to be a part of anything today. Who do you think finishes this rotation? Because Paul Reed is, I would expect to be, at least for today, the backup to Joel Embiid. But they have Daniel House, Martin, Covington. Do you assume those 3 guys are all playing today?
House, Martin, and Covington? Probably.
Yeah. In theory, one of these guys, like, I don't know if Kenyon Martin Jr. is going to play or not. Hadn't been playing with the Clippers. Don't know if that's just that sort of situation. I love him running with the second unit. I think that he's a perfect fit for this one. You would expect Covington to be, I think, the first guy of that group. I don't think any of those guys are playable, though.
Oh, agreed. We have House projected for 10 DraftKings points. That's the highest of the 3.
Yeah, like I gave Covington 16 minutes. That's going to be mostly impossible. Kmart, I'm giving less. House, I'm giving less. So I don't really think it matters what's available for those dudes. I don't think that you can play them.
Yeah, because like none of them are really good point per minute guys either. So
no.
It's not even like you're able to look at it and say, oh, well, if Covington plays 5 minutes more than I'm expecting, he's going to be a great play. It's like, oh, he'll just be a slightly less bad play.
The only interesting thing that will pop up is if they somehow go to a 9-man rotation and then those wings start to get 20 minutes instead of 16 minutes, but
right.
I don't know. Anything for Paul Reed, 4,200. Like basically every backup center isn't priced like a backup center today that I've noticed.
Yeah, the price tag's not exactly where you want it to be. And, obviously you're just expecting him to play the minutes that Embiid doesn't. So pretty tough to get to him, I think.
Okay. We didn't say anything about Tobias Harris at 2% owned, 7,100. Am I excited to get Tobias Harris? No. Would I at all be surprised that Tobias Harris is in a winning lineup today? Absolutely not.
Same. And I am close to finishing up an early set of lineups, and not so like right now getting to Embiid, getting to Melton, not getting to as much of anybody else from this team.
No, I don't see it. Again, as weird as this sounds, I think we can like honestly say it pretty confidently. The only plays that exist for Toronto and Philadelphia are whoever the 10 starters are.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, so if the slate started right now with the information that we have, I'd have 38% Melton, 32% Embiid. That's 28% Anunoby.
Yeah.
18% Schroeder, 14% Oubre. So like mixing these guys in, but not going too crazy on any of them.
Grab them starters, boys, and grab the NBA Treat promo code. That is what you're looking for right now. We talked a lot about the Sims during the first week plus of the season. Now it's lineup generator time. NBA Treat is the promo, $4.99 for a week of the NBA lineup generator. Click the link in chat or in the description of this video. If you're like a 1, 2, 3 lineup type person, this is the tool for you. It's basically like Sims Lite. We generate the lineups ourselves. We get rid of everything that stinks, and then we let you pick from everything that's left. You could lock a player in if you want, or swap players around, balanced, contrarian, chalky builds if you want. Make those distinctions at the beginning. Click save if you like the lineup. Click discard if you don't. Either way, another lineup will pop up again immediately. You can export up to 20 via CSV. If you're just building one lineup, you're going to see our projections and optimal rates. This is just going to naturally put you in a better place to start. You're going to get a better generated lineup. And if you want to make some swaps off of that, by all means. But you're going to start in a better place than you had before using this tool. And it's only going to cost you $4.99 for the first week. NBA Treats, the promo code, link in the description. The Detroit Pistons are on a back-to-back, 7.5-point dogs in New Orleans, 219 total. Really hard to talk about them right now. Jalen Duren did not play yesterday. Alec Burks got ruled out the moment lock happened. I put them both in for right now, in particular Duren. But they're all getting ownership, including Jalen Duren, who's getting 30% right now if he's playing. We kind of know how this works. The only problem is it's an 8 o'clock start. If Duren ends up out, they took Bagley's power forward eligibility away. He is now just center 4,400, but that will not matter. Marvin Bagley will be probably the best, if not the second best play on today's slate. If we lose Duren, that's not going to change at all.
Yeah, and if Duren's in, he looks really good. Pulling 30% ownership, like you said, at 6,800. He would be my second highest owned guy if the slate started right now at like 85%. And that's with me also getting well over the field on Joel Embiid at center. So seems very easy to get to. You know, the rebounding opportunities are there. He looks really good. And then, like you said, if he's out, Bagley looks fantastic at 4,400. Not as good as he did yesterday, I guess, since he doesn't have power forward eligibility, but still really good. You could roll the dice on a 3K Wiseman. We didn't really get to see what was supposed to happen to him with Duren out. He subbed in when you would expect him to, immediately picked up 3 fouls in 2 minutes and missed the rest of the first half, ended up playing 6 minutes. Obviously, if Duren's out, Wiseman's a really risky play, but 3K flat, probably not going to get much ownership even in that case. He was only 5% owned yesterday. So certainly worth a look if Duren's out, especially if Burks were to also be out.
Yeah. Yeah, Wiseman looks way more interesting today. Well, maybe not to you, but to most people.
It'll be hard to look more interesting today.
Yeah, but I like that shout. How do you feel about $6,800 Duren if he's playing? 30% owned right now.
He'd be my second highest owned guy, 85%.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously been a rebounding monster so far this season. So I do like that shout out.
It's a really fair price tag. And I think it also just speaks to how easy it is to get to him. The fact that I have 30-something% Embiid. The field's only projected for like 13-14% on Embiid. So I'm taking a nice stand on Embiid if the slate started right now and still able to get to a massive amount of Duren.
I think Cade looks fine at 8,500. The just shooting guard is really limiting on a 4-game slate, but I certainly wouldn't mind getting him in any sort of lineup. He's been at 1.09 DraftKings points per minute so far this season. Really nice to see. Getting back to beef stew, I got around 19%. He's only been 0.81 so far this season, but should be in that like 10 to 15% owned range either way. Asar Thompson is 13% owned. His positionality all looks fine. A lot of this will just have to do with whether or not Jalen Duren or Alec Burks are playing.
Yeah, definitely a lot can change there. Worth noting, that Stewart did get plenty of minutes at center yesterday. Partly, because of Wiseman, but that does increase his value. It's kind of an interesting team though, because like Duren stands out as the clear top guy if he's in. But then like you mentioned that you're getting to Cunningham and Stewart, which I think is perfectly fine. I have like 30% Killian Hayes and 30% Thompson who are getting, 10 to 13% ownership. So I think it's an interesting team where outside of Duren, none of them are getting a ton of ownership, but you can make a pretty strong case for being overweight on any of them.
I have 19% Killian Hayes. I just didn't get there yet.
Oh, okay.
And I don't want to. So on S&P is here. He can vouch for this one. On the process this morning, I run optimal crunches at the end after I do everything, just to get an idea of like who's popping to the top. And Killian Hayes was in my optimal this morning, and I almost threw up on myself. I dropped his minutes projection by 1 just so it wouldn't show up anymore.
Yeah, it's never.
He's something. Do you see? He's worse this year than he's been.
That's impressive.
Go look at his true sheet. Well, I'll pull it up. I might still have it up. Killian Hayes on the season in 5 games, 34% true shooting.
That is impressively bad.
It was 46 last year, which was second percentile.
And he still produces fantasy points. It's a crazy thing.
So the problem here now is that I don't think he does the same way. 17.5% assist rate so far this season. That is basically half of last year. I think having Cade Cunningham in is making it even worse for Killian Hayes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's at 0.71 DraftKings points per minute this year.
Yeah. So that might be something to pay attention to, where he was getting those assists because Cade didn't exist. I'm going to go back. I actually want to go back and look and see what was Killian Hayes doing in the games that he did play with Cade, I guess in the past 2 years. Cade only played a couple last year, right?
Yeah.
But either way, like, he's certainly in play. It's stupid that he's only point guard eligible, but that's that. I don't have anything else here. We need this Detroit news. Hopefully we get some of it at injury report time at 2:30, but we'll see.
37 games as a starter with Cade Cunningham, 0.75 DraftKings points per minute, 21% assist percentage, 15% usage percentage.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's very important to adjust his assist rate, because it's not the same situation as last year.
Yeah. Over that same time period, 64 starts without Cade Cunningham, 32.5% assist percentage, 0.94 DraftKings points per minute.
I like that. I like that we just dug into that. That's good stuff. That's why you watch this show, everybody.
I like it. I wish we hadn't, because now I feel even worse about having Killian Hayes, and I already didn't feel good about it.
Well, now you just... Well, you're not going to make any adjustments to that, but I will. It'll be actionable for me. I got nothing else for Detroit. Pay attention to the news. Pels side. This is not helpful either. So this entire game is on a back-to-back. We didn't have Brandon Ingram yesterday. He also missed the previous game as well. So he's missed his last 2. I put him in because you have to. And I actually think he might be the best play on today's slate. 8K shooting guard, small forward, 43% owned, not to be outdone by 35% ownership coming into CJ and 19 coming into Joval. I assume we're on the same page here. If Brandon Ingram is playing, you're going to want a bunch.
I don't really have any.
What do you have him projected for? 0?
I don't know. Whatever we have him at 38.5 DraftKings points.
Not getting a lot of the 43% owned Brandon Ingram?
I have 6%.
What was your projected ownership?
What was what?
What was your projected ownership? 6?
Oh, whatever we have. 43.
So 43?
Yeah.
Okay, now give me the answer that you would give if you didn't look at those numbers. 8K shooting guard, small forward.
I think he looks good. I mean, we have him going way over. We have him with a 24% chance of being optimal at 43% ownership.
I am a much bigger fan of Brandon Ingram today. So I think those will, I think that optimal rate will rise.
Yeah, like this looks like another, it's like the inverse, I think, right now of what we've talked about with other spots where the ownership is way higher than the optimal, which probably means we're just too low on our projection at 10:30 in the morning and it's going to come up. But with the data we have right now, I would not be playing a lot of Ingram.
Did you get to a ton of CJ?
I didn't get to a lot of this team.
Interesting stance.
22% CJ.
At least you got Killian Hayes, though.
Right, yeah. 22% CJ is my highest owned guy from the Pels right now.
Okay. I like CJ quite a bit. So did everybody else yesterday. If Brandon Ingram happens to be out, CJ McCollum is going to be probably the best play on today's slate, or second best, at least best that you're paying like legitimate salary.
Still 7,200 would look really good without Ingram. I ended up with like 80% yesterday, which was not fun in the first half, but was a lot more fun in the second half. Yeah, he'll look really, really good if Ingram's out. And he looks good if Ingram's in. It's still a cheap price tag. He's still productive. But obviously just a lot more for him to do if Ingram is out.
Look, Ingram, 1.14 fantasy points per minute in the 2 games that he's played so far. CJ's been good. He had a really bad year last year. 1.26 fantasy points per minute so far this season. Definitely helpful. Not going to maintain 1.26, but he could be a 1.1 guy. I have no interest in $9,200 Zion on DraftKings. That much I know. But $7,800 on FanDuel Zion is 67% owned.
Yeah, that's a much better play. I'm with you as far as it's just really tough to get there on DraftKings at 9,200. Like there's obviously that part where it's just like, well, it's a 4-game slate. Getting low owned Zion's really nice, but it's tough, I think, to actually really do that. On FanDuel, though, broken price tag at 7,800 looks fantastic.
Yeah. Ingram 60% on FanDuel, 7,900, just small forward. Joe Val's fine. Do we need to do like a deep dive into Joe Val's minutes?
We can.
29 in the opener, 21, 23, 21. For people box score watching, like, he's an interesting guy. The real key to Joe Val is, do you think that he can play 28 minutes today if the game breaks correctly?
I mean, the problem is Nance.
Yes, it is. So the rotation that he played against Oklahoma City yesterday is intriguing to me. Is Joe Val just going to play the start of every quarter?
Right. Like that is a really shitty rotation that he played yesterday.
Yeah.
And the thing that really concerns me, not only is Nance good enough, and we know this from last year, and obviously so far this year, not only is he a backup center that is like actually going to get his minutes, but they don't have to close with either of them either.
No, they didn't. There are chunks of time where they're both not on the floor.
Right. Like they closed the first half with Nance for the last 47 seconds yesterday, but the mostly closing lineup in the first half was Zion.
Yeah.
McCollum, Hawkins, Daniels, Jones, Zion.
Oh, they went to Zeller for 2 minutes too.
Oh yeah, I missed that.
Which is
the first quarter rotation was weird because like Joe Val played a shorter stint than normal, but it wasn't because of fouls. They just went to Nance pretty much immediately.
Joe Val played 3 minutes and they yanked his ass.
Yep. Yeah, like normally when you see that rotation, it's like, oh, he picked up 2 fouls, but he didn't pick up any.
Yeah, when I opened it up, I was like, oh, he must have had 3.
Right.
Nope, 0.
And
I went 24 minutes to Joe Val. I think that's the best you could really do right now.
And it's the same rotation that he played against Golden State too, just opening each quarter.
Yeah. I think 24 is the number, at which point I think 19% ownership starts to get a little scary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much of him at all, I don't think. Which shouldn't be surprising since I said I have 30 whatever percent Embiid and 85% Duren. I'm kind of just out of center spots, but yeah, I don't have Joe Val right now.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work, but it's weird. It's weird. And I don't like Nance at 4,300 either because it's not like he's getting the other. If you were getting the other 24, that would be a different story. But if he's center only too, ugh.
Yeah, I think center only is the big problem. Is, if you could just slot him in at power forward, say, yeah, he's playing like 20 to 22 minutes, but maybe he'll play really well and get 26. I think that's one thing. But at center, it becomes a lot more difficult to do that when it's costing you guys like Duran or Embiid. Obviously different price tags, but same position. Pirtle.
On the off chance that Brandon Ingram is out, Jordan Hawkins is still 4,600. I think we're going right back to him as a highly owned, relatively cheap play. But that price is increasing a bit, but he's going to be, I would assume, play 30-something minutes and have to be owned.
Agreed. Because like the opportunities have actually been there for him, like we were talking about earlier. In the 2 games he started, 19% usage rate, 12% assist percentage, 36 minutes per game, 7% rebounding percentage, 3/4 of a fantasy point per minute. And obviously that 3/4 of a fantasy point per minute would be much higher if he had shot better than like 2 for 13 from 3. So the price tag is getting higher where it's a little scary because like he is still playing with Zion. He's playing with McCollum. Those guys are still clearly going to have the ball more than him, but he's just playing so many minutes and getting enough opportunities that he's still going to look like a good value.
I think you're probably going to need Ingram to be out to have any real interest in like Dyson Daniels or like Matt Ryan as value plays. I don't have much interest in Herb Jones either way at 5,500. He's a bit too expensive for his skill set.
Yeah, it's just that he's a really good NBA player whose skill set doesn't exactly translate to DFS that well. So yeah, not getting much ownership makes him sort of interesting just because he does have that small forward, power forward eligibility. But even at 4% projected ownership, he's not somebody that I'm getting to.
Well, guys, I don't have anything else for the Pels. Do you?
Nope.
Keep your eye on this one. Again, both teams on the back-to-back. We have so much news that will be important here. I would imagine we get it for this game at 2:30. So keep your eyes, 2:30 Eastern time. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. And then if you happen to live in Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, or Colorado, before we go any further for this Bet365 read, they're the sponsor. You see the banner at the top of the screen. Adam, I'm going to give you these 6 states once again. I want you to rank them in order of coolness. Where would you want to live versus where would you least want to live? Are you ready?
Yep.
Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Virginia, Iowa, Colorado. Who's number one? Yes, agreed.
Either Jersey or Virginia too.
Okay.
Probably Jersey too, just because of proximity to New York. Virginia 3 because of proximity to DC. And because there's like cool shit in Virginia that I actually like, outdoor shit.
Kentucky, Ohio, and Iowa are your final 3.
Ohio 4. Kentucky 5 because it's closer to the East Coast. Iowa 6.
Iowa would rank a little bit higher for me. But we're basically in the same order here. Colorado 1, I think, is like the easiest decision on the list.
Yeah. I mean, Colorado was the one that stood out. Like I was going back and forth, like Jersey, Virginia, and Colorado was the easy answer there. I've never been to Colorado, but I've heard good things. Like you could easily flip Iowa and Kentucky for me, but
yeah,
I don't have much interest. I had trouble coming up with anything appealing about either place.
I feel like I would enjoy Iowa to just be like left alone.
I've actually been to Iowa, but it was just to stay in a hotel literally a minute into Iowa while I was visiting Omaha.
Des, Philly is not the best sports town in the country. Not so much. Well, anyway, Bet365. For those 6 states that we just ranked, if you bet $5 after clicking the link in the description, you get $150. Win or lose. That's a great way to start a bankroll. We've got picks at OddsShopper or in our Discord. You can just simply use our OddsShopper YouTube channel if you want to watch a video and try to get them. Follow some of our guys on Twitter. All those states, that is the deal. Bet 5 to get 150. You have to be 21 or over. Unless you're in Kentucky, you only have to be 18 or over. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. The Orlando Magic are 1-point underdogs in Utah, 222 total. The good news is Orlando is not on a back-to-back, and everybody that's normally available is available. And we are getting a lot of ownership here. 15% to Cole Anthony, 32% to Franz Wagner, 21 to Suggs, 41 to Fultz, 24 to Banchero, 27 to Carter. I'm yo-yoing all over these dudes. There's so much ownership coming in, but I'm like over on the guys that aren't getting a lot of it and under on the guys that are getting a ton of it. But I don't think that we can ignore Orlando in any way.
Yeah, they look good. They're getting a massive amount of ownership. This is sorting weird for me. Hang on. Okay. Yeah, 41% defaults. Like I'm not getting to the field, but I still have 20% faults. Wagner's coming in at 32%. I'm not there. Carter's the guy I'm getting the most of from Orlando. I'm getting 40% Carter. He's 27% on DraftKings. So another center I'm getting to, basically just playing Embiid, Carter, and Duran at center at this point.
49% Carter for me.
What'd you say?
49% Carter for me. My high mark for the Magic.
Yeah, 40% is my high mark for the Magic. Everybody else, I'm not really getting to that much. 12% Cole Anthony, so right around the field there. I'm only getting like 10% Banchero at 24%. I have 10% Wagner at 32%.
39% of Cole Anthony, which is wild to me. 21 of Franz, 13 of Suggs, 24 of Fultz, 18 of Banchero. It's just a lot of Orlando. Like these guys play some real minutes. Most of them are good fantasy point per minute dudes. Like I'm not naming a bunch of 0.7 type dudes. Like Gary Harris is that guy, but I'm not getting him. But Cole Anthony's a fantasy point per minute ish. Franz is a fantasy point per minute ish. Suggs is like 0.9, 0.95, somewhere in that neighborhood. Fultz is at a fantasy point per minute. Banchero is like a little bit north of that number. Wendell Carter Jr. is a little bit north of that number. Not this year, but normally 0.76 for Wendell Carter Jr. this season.
Yeah, and I feel like I've been playing him a lot more than I usually
do. Bug Boy says 49% Carter. Josh is finally learning. Wrong Carter, man. It's not It's not a universal name. Isn't Evan Carter white?
Yes.
Yeah. Adopted brothers.
Really? You know his like story though, right? Evan Carter?
No.
No, it's actually like pretty cool. He was drafted in the COVID year in like the second round and just got shit on like the MLB draft coverage because nobody knew who he was. He went to some like high school in Tennessee in some town with like 14,000 people or something. And he like didn't play on like the showcase circuit because he was just like, it's expensive and I'm going to Duke. And like, if I get drafted, cool, whatever, I don't care. And there was like 3 teams that even knew he existed. And Texas took him in the second round. And like on the MLB draft coverage, they're just like the Baseball America guy and whoever else is on there. They're like, we don't know who he is. Like all they had, the only guy that knew anything about him was like, I don't remember who it was. They were like, yeah, I saw him hit at some event and there are guys that should go to college instead of going pro. And he's one of them.
That's and like wild.
Yeah. Like he's talked about it. He was like, yeah, it sucked. Like that's supposed to be like the best day of your life. And you're just getting shit on coverage.
That'll light a fire, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Didn't have the same experience for Wendell Carter. Very, very familiar with him.
Yeah,
Orlando's just
did go to Duke,
volume
though, so
here.
They do have that in common.
Evan Carter did?
He was a Duke commit. He got drafted out of high school.
Okay, gotcha. So he didn't?
No. But that was why he like one of the reasons he didn't care about even going on like the showcase circuit and stuff. He was just like, I'm cool going to Duke and playing baseball there and being a whatever he was going to be after Duke.
Yeah. Probably not going to make the same NIL money at Duke playing baseball, but it's, you can probably get your rent paid and some beer money and stuff, do some local commercial. I can't imagine what that's like now for college kids. Like you were obviously, a lot of these dudes at certain schools were getting a bag under the table, but now, man, it must be real nice to just be like, I'm a millionaire, man. I just showed up. I make $500,000 playing 2K in my dorm room.
Yeah. I like, obviously they were getting it anyway, but I can't imagine like one, from their standpoint, like all the stupid shit that I would do. And then 2, just like how relaxing it must just be to be like, yeah, I'm in college, which is like a great time for pretty much everybody, but also I'm just getting paid.
Yeah. Oh, good times.
Like the only thing really the only reason you typically want to like get out of college is to start actually making money.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like just thinking back to like the people that like left early and stuff, how much I think it should improve college basketball. Like if you're like maybe I make the lottery type dude, but like at a popular school,
right?
You could probably make your salary if you really need to.
Yeah, I think
be the big man on campus again.
I'm wondering how much. Not even those guys. Like, how often are we going to see like the legit one and done guys just be like, yeah, I'm not gonna leave yet. This is fun. Like, especially if they're at a school like UCLA or something. I mean, like it's not apples to apples, but like with Caleb Williams at USC, like, what incentive does that dude have to leave his life in LA right now?
So it'll matter depending on who gets that like first pick now more often. Well, right. Like for NBA, if you're going early, you just leave because it's not the same punishment and stuff like that. Like if you're gonna be the fourth pick, you can't go back to college at that point in time.
Why? Like if you're
too much risk. It's too much money.
It's basketball though. Like there's not that much risk.
There's way more than you're thinking. It's too much. It's too much money to get a lottery pick contract in the NBA.
Yeah, I guess
you're never going to see somebody not go that's projected to go in the lottery. Very, very, unless they are like, their dad's so-and-so, or like if money's not an option, which is rarely the case in these situations. I mean,
you had the example with Mark Capel where, he's just like, yeah, my dad's a doctor. I'm going to be a doctor. You can pay me $8 million or not.
I'm not even going to acknowledge chat. 44% ownership to John Collins, 64% ownership to Jordan Clarkson, who is 5,400 today. I have 90%. 7% coming into Markkanen, 41 to Talen Horton-Tucker. There are some extreme chalk plays on Utah that I completely agree with. Our only problem here, they're also on a back-to-back, so we don't know what they're doing, but I assume they're not doing anything weird.
Yeah, this is the chalk team that I am getting to, and I guess this is the part where, it's important to keep in mind how everything works together exposure-wise. Like you've talked about a lot of popular players where I'm like, yeah, I'm not really getting there. I'm under the field. A lot of it has to do with I'm getting 85% John Collins. I'm getting 64% Clarkson. I'm getting 40% Horton-Tucker. And all of these guys are just so popular where, especially if I'm getting a couple of those guys in lineups together, it's just going to push me towards lower owned guys elsewhere. And so I think that's part of the reason I've been under the field so far on a lot of popular guys is I am getting to Utah. The prices just look really good for Clarkson, Collins, Horton-Tucker. Like you said, we're obviously assuming that they just run out their normal lineup, but if they do, the prices on all three of those guys look great. I'm not really getting to anything else from Utah. I wouldn't hate getting to some low-owned Markkanen, low-owned Olynyk, whatever it may be, but Clarkson, Collins, Horton-Tucker just really stand out as very, very strong values. The only
Clarkson the best play on the day?
I mean, so Collins is my highest owned guy, along with Duran. Okay. Clarkson is third.
Okay. 5,400 is bonkers.
Right. The only thing I think not to like about Utah, and it's very nitpicky, is that Clarkson and Horton-Tucker only have one position, but doesn't really matter. And again, that's reflected in tools, like in optimal percentage, and you still have a 42% chance of being optimal for Clarkson, 26% for Horton-Tucker.
And I have 56% Collins, so I'm right there with you as liking him and him being one of my best plays. But Clarkson is the guy that I'm getting to a ton. And I'm not surprised by that. There's just always going to be more interesting looking power forward centers than there are shooting guards.
Yeah. Clarkson ended up being like 8% owned last night. That was nice.
I don't really see too much else here. I got like 3% to Colin Sexton. I did get 17 of Markkanen, which I absolutely love if he's 7% really owned on a 4-gamer.
Yeah, I didn't get it, but I like the idea of it.
Yeah, he's a little overpriced at 9K, but 1.4 fantasy points per minute for Markkanen so far this season. He's justifying the price with his play. I just don't think 1.4 is the one that continues.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have anything. I guess we should probably say. What'd you say?
You said for Markkanen?
Yeah.
Isn't that pretty much what he did last year?
1.4?
I thought he was like 1.3, 1.4.
I have him as a 1.14 guy in my model.
I'm pretty sure you were much lower on Markkanen like all of last year than.
I could be beginning, but not at the end.
Maybe he was like 1.2. I don't know. He was. Last year was a year where like for the whole year it was just like, well, he's probably not going to continue this, but then he just did.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I didn't expect Lauri Markkanen to become like a pseudo All NBA guy by the end of the season. No one did. I'm
Yeah,
looking it up
no,
now.
I wasn't like mocking you. I'm saying like I don't remember his exact rates. I'm trying to pull it up now, but yeah, 1.22 last season.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me then. I got him at 1.24 for the game. So
Yeah.
feeling good there. We didn't mention him, but anything for Walker Kessler?
I don't have it, but again, that's just because I'm, as of right now, jamming Duran, Embiid, and Carter. He's interesting because he gives you block upside, which is obviously really nice. 6K price tag is not ideal. We only have him projected for like 20 DraftKings points right now.
I didn't realize we were running long. 10:50. We do have a bunch of shows coming up. I'm going to let you guys know quickly. That's going to be NFL strategy show coming up next at 11 a.m. Rainmaker show at 1:30. NHL strategy show at 2. I'm guessing you just saw my DM. Owner's Box show at 4:30. Adam and I are back for the deeper dive at 5. NBA live before lock at 6. NFL live before lock at 7 or 7:30, somewhere in that neighborhood. Either way, for Thursday Night Football, you're going to get that show. San Antonio Spurs, 8-point dogs in Phoenix, 225 total. Hard to really prioritize anything here for San Antonio. There's just a couple guys that look good, not great. Chetty's getting 10%. Bassey's getting 10%. Vassell's getting 10%. Sohan's getting 10%. Keldon's getting 20. Zach Collins is at 15. Trey Jones at 10. Wemby at 10. It's just like a scattered amount of a little bit of these guys. I have 33% Zach Collins. So I think Zach Collins is my Jalen Duren right now.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And he looks fine at 6,300. We have him going a little bit under owned, 23% optimal percentage, 15% ownership. I'm not getting, I have 28%. So I'm like 2x the field on him. I guess that's where the rest of my center exposure is going. The guy from this team that right now is showing up for me and probably will disappear. It's probably just kind of a placeholder, but I'm getting to a lot of Chetty at 3,500.
Ooh, okay.
Just again, it doesn't really have to do with Chetty as much as I'm over the field on Embiid. I'm getting to, other mid-range guys. So Chetty's showing up a lot for me. You're not expecting a lot out of him. We do have him going under owned, 10% ownership, 16% chance of being optimal, small forward, power forward, projected for like 16 DraftKings points. So hopefully 48% turns into, something closer to like 15, 20 by the time we get the lock. But he is showing up as kind of like placeholder value for me right now.
Yeah, I have single digits of everybody except for Collins. Like
I actually
8%
I have a lot of Wemby.
Okay, nice.
So I guess that's kind of my marketing. Like I think it's a comparable play. I have 30%. I have 30% Wemby right now, which again, that can very easily go away. But we have him with a 17% chance of being optimal, 6% ownership. $7,900 price tag is expensive, but not that expensive. And from a talent standpoint, obviously he can give you big games. So wouldn't be surprising if that comes down some, but he is showing up as a contrarian play for me that I'm getting to a lot of. Mentioned that I'm getting the Collins a lot. So I'm getting like 15% Sohan, so around the field on him.
Okay. I like that Wemby shout though. Decent comp for marketing too.
Yeah. 8% Vassell.
We close it out with Phoenix. Bradley Beal out, Damian Lee out, Devin Booker questionable. So I put Booker in. He's 7% owned. Okogie's 11. Nurkic is 17. Kevin Durant is 10. I doubled up Booker. I'm a little light on Durant at 10.8. That is a big price tag. Probably why I'm getting to a little bit more Embiid. But the guy I want the most from Phoenix, at least as of right now, I don't love it, but it's Josh Okogie.
Yeah, Booker's the guy I'm getting to the most from Phoenix right now at like 20%. So I'm just not getting to this team all that much, and neither is the field with Booker projected in. Okogie getting 11% ownership. I have like 8%. So I'm pretty much in line with the field on him. I'm getting to a little bit of Durant around 12%. But like you said, I also prefer Embiid. He just projects better. The positional eligibility for Embiid obviously isn't ideal at center, but you also only have power forward eligibility for Durant. So it's not like you have a ton of flexibility there either. And he's just pretty expensive. Now, obviously, Durant will also look better if Booker ends up being out. But with Booker projected in, you just have a pretty big gap between Embiid and Durant. So I'm getting, especially with them being similarly owned, I'm just getting to more Embiid.
And obviously, I will have much more Kevin Durant if Devin Booker doesn't play this game. That's just going to look a little bit different. How do you feel about Book for 9,500?
I'm 2x the field right now.
Yeah, same. 14%.
Like, I don't feel comfortable with it, but the idea of a $9,500 Devin Booker at sub 10% ownership on a 4-game slate is against the Spurs is pretty appealing.
Yeah, if he's going to look just like Markkanen, that'll work for me.
Right.
If Booker's playing, it's going to be pretty hard to get to Gordon or Allen or Goodwin. Or
Yeah,
Watanabe
I think those guys
is probably like the guy I would actually want because of his price.
Yeah, I don't have any of those guys. I have the Phoenix starters. Minus Gordon.
17% Nurkic seems right, I guess.
Yeah, we have a little high. You know, we have 11% optimal. I only have like 2%, but again, that's just a matter of how much of those other centers I have. You know, if some of Collins or Carter or whatever start turning into Nurkic or Poeltl, that's perfectly fine also.
That's the slate, folks. 4 games. Again, we don't have any information on 4 of these teams. There's only 8 of them. The deeper dive will have much more information for you. My contenders videos are already out. Adam, you're going to have a Sims video and an article out a little bit later?
Lineup generator video and an article. Article will be out in the next hour or so, I think. Lineup generator video probably around like 2 p.m.
There we go. NFL strategy show coming up next. Don't miss it. It is on a different stream, so click on over if you can. We'll see you guys later tonight at 5 p.m. Hit the like button on your way out the door. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Shout out Bet365.